Throughout the last 100 years or so, a smorgasbord of utterly baffling ancient anomalies have continued to turn up in the unlikeliest of places. The tessellated floor within Tasmania, for example, although appearing to be an incredibly ancient man-made artifact, rather than its enormous size being a discrediting factor, in reality, it is due to its tremendous age. With a date of creation placed somewhere around 300 million years ago, thus the floor's origin, along with countless other strange, yet clearly artificially created sites and artifacts which have shown up over the past century, are all dismissed as natural formations. These ruins, although often sharing many characteristics with other locations due to not having obvious ancient activity and structures nearby, are successfully denied as the work of man, and thus they largely go unnoticed and often overlooked by the world at large. Artifacts dismissed as hoaxes, with those who discover them discredited and mocked. Objects such as the London hammer, the fossilized chariot wheel, the Dorchester zinc vase, the iron pot, the iron mask, and so on, all of which found within coal or mineral seams, and all dated to some 300 million years old. These individuals, sometimes even entire groups of miners, regardless of their sworn testimonies and affidavits, accused of lying, of manufacturing conspiracy theories. For as far as academia is concerned, such objects are impossible to have been found where they were, and most notably, seemingly continue to appear. Thus, if one instead attempts to piece together the picture of the puzzle, many of these peculiar parts are indicating, with them all revealed, dug up, sometimes even dynamited from bedrock all over the world, it would appear that around 300 million years ago, a civilization flourished here upon our planet, one that succeeded in developing to a point where their artifacts could be recognized today often as ancient counterparts to many of our own technologies and utensils, a fingerprint which completely flies in the face of the currently upheld chronology for mankind. With everything we are taught today within academia hinging upon the Bering Strait theory, and is thus in complete denial of any evidence of civilizational activity which predates this hypothesis. This active denial, I attest, in turn, concealing a number of global floods and catastrophes with an equally large number of now lost civilizations who have come and gone on our planet, all of which meeting their mysterious ends at so far unknown hands. Yet, I digress. Anyone who is familiar with the channel's content will be well aware of the many seemingly impossible ruins now found worldwide, which are effectively being hidden in plain sight, for they all attributed to various, more modern, thus well-studied ancestors. This ancient world's legacy, like Baalbek for example, although claimed as the work of Romans and many of their ingenious developments, just like that of the pharaohs, simply rediscovered these technologies which still lay within these empty ruins which they would subsequently continue to build upon themselves. Thus, just like that of Giza, they simply re-inhabited these places. Does this not make more sense, rather than telling of us once having had the ability to build these places, yet somehow, over time, inexplicably forgetting how we did it, as if such magnificent buildings and impenetrable masonry techniques, which still stand to this day I might add, would not have continued to be utilized to one's advantage, that we would have just ceased constructing these places, as if this academic explanation makes more sense than there in reality being a considerable, and due to its denial, hidden gap in not only ours but the planet's history as a whole. These modern groups not only taking on the identity of those responsible for these mind-bending feats, but even hijacking many of their technological developments to claim them as their own, with our next item of interest of no exception. Known as Soli Pompeiopolis Harbor, found half submerged along the shoreline of modern-day Turkey, it too has been claimed by many a civilization's ruler. And although having a recorded history spanning back to the Bronze Age, and with an archaeological footprint found surrounding the port dating back as far as 9,000 years, it is regardless claimed as a ruin built within known history, with these detailed renovations recorded and still existing, and thus loudly declared as its genesis by the powers that be. However, could the port itself be the thing which has attracted us to the location over and over again, with its long life spanning back possibly tens of thousands of years? Was the harbor already in existence when those within our own Stone Age period rediscovered it, subsequently utilizing it for our own seafaring journeys? For as some of you may have noticed already, it possesses one of the many signatures of a now lost, yet once incredibly advanced global civilization I regularly present, which not only identifies it as such, but reveals many things regarding their past existence which I have yet to find anywhere else. Found within the many images of this pre-flood relic, the fingerprints of a lost, yet once incredibly advanced civilization can be seen with this ancient clamping technology on full display. Often found within sites to aid in the settling of their huge megalithic blocks, preventing them from drifting off their perfect placements when they were first laid and as they inevitably slowly sunk into the earth. Clearly utilized upon the port, however, to allow the harbor to remain standing against the ocean's waves. Found in varying locations and once cast from a vast array of differing metals, some of which they simply should not have had access to, and as such, a sensitive topic for any individual relying on next year's funding to delve into or even to attempt to explain. Sometimes even found to have varied in metallurgical recipe from location to location within the same site, indicating that these lost civilizations were even aware of the tensile strength and erosion resistance for each of these metals, and indeed the exotic alloys they manufactured. With all those bestowed with the task of upholding the current paradigm for such sites as that of the port of Soli Pompeiopolis, for instance. Also tasked, it would seem, with ignoring my evidence and the clearly recognizable, once globally shared technology which litters the ruin. It must be denied, regardless of the mountain of evidence to prove otherwise. With some over the years even going to the effort of faking them, crudely carving wooden clamps from wood of the period to support this falsehood. This, I believe, occurred within a site I recently covered unearthed within France. A vast, yet forgotten, and thus little known ancient wall recently found to be sprawling across the earth beneath an ancient woodland. Although I have yet to discover any areas of polygonal masonry, what has been revealed thus far clearly reveals these far too familiar divots where our ancient clamps once sat. Yet due to it being academically claimed as that of a pagan site, with the funded team who investigated the wall audaciously, even offering up clamps coming from wood, conveniently dating to this era, supposedly supporting and thus concluding their investigation into its age and constructor as the truth. They did this regardless of the wall clearly being of a far greater age, and regardless of the evidence of these same clamps found worldwide, they do it nonetheless. And although many acclaimed constructors have come and gone within our long yet documented past, all of whom having attempted to lay their hat upon it, the port of Soli Pompeiopolis possesses clear proof of a far greater and richer history than having been built by these more recent inhabitants. And due to it being a port, as mentioned earlier, it offers up a unique insight into this pre-flood world, and provides compelling evidence to suggest what their preferred past forms of global travel once were, one that has survived standing for an unknown amount of time, and thus another testament to their construction abilities, yet also even their seafaring abilities, giving us the briefest of glimpses into just what this lost civilization were once utilizing to accomplish their traversing of the ancient globe. Who built the port of Soli Pompeiopolis? Or indeed the long-claimed pagan wall within France? The clamps within Peru, Tiwanaku, Italy, and so on? Was the same civilization once responsible for all these ancient ruins? Or, as I have long postulated, are they, like the many variations in style and forms would indicate, one of a number of shared technologies, either witnessed on other continents, thus stolen and incorporated, or just like that of their megalithic moving and cutting techniques, knowledge which was once traded throughout this globally connected, sophisticated pre-flood civilization. The port of Soli Pompeiopolis is a surviving relic from a lost past, which I find highly compelling. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to support my controversial research here upon YouTube. Thank you. There are many different features which one can use to discover whether or not a ruin is of the tribe in which they have been academically pegged. Size of the stones, the method in which these stones are incorporated in the builds themselves, or even the nature of the methodology in creating these walls. All lost knowledge, all ancient feats beyond the capabilities of any of our known and well-studied ancestors. Yet there are those particular few which are my favorite ancient signatures to seek out, left by these magnificent builders, allowing me to link sites together all over the world. Such ingenious solutions to issues they were inevitably confronted with, whilst constructing their sites with such precision, to suggest that such technologies arose on differing continents at around the same time, purely by coincidence, civilizations separated by vast oceans, isolated and unable to have shared such knowledge, I feel, a ridiculous stance to take thus. It is one I am always keen to expose, as this is indeed the mainstream stance on such incredible examples of antiquitech. I am talking, of course, of metal clamps, once smelted and cast with varying levels of advanced metallurgies, which have nearly all eroded away, once used to prevent the colossal blocks from drifting, whilst they slowly set into the earth, with the surviving examples such as those found in Spain, have revealed their technologically advanced creator. With the site featured in tonight's video of no exception. Found deep within the mountains of France, it remains mostly buried hidden from the world. Yet, in the few areas which are above this ancient sediment, my favorite signature revealed drenching this pre-flood ruin. Claimed as pagan, with some areas even claimed as Roman, this labeling, regardless of the structures all clearly being of the same age, they have decidedly been separated by millennia by mainstream academic studies. Interestingly, there exists a series of wooden tenets or clamps once apparently collected from within the north section of the wall. These tenets, however, are made from wood, all somehow still existing, and all dated to a range of 536 to 675. However, could these be a more modern adaptation? Perhaps they were placed there to help those who came later to claim such ruins as their own. For why would one go to such trouble in creating such a colossal stone structure and then decidedly use wooden braces instead of stone or metal? Of the 115 preserved tenons, academically funded researchers Willie and Bernhard selected 46 specimens for study using drachronology, with the selected tenons having at least 30 rings. With a length of 15 to 37 centimeters and a width of 3 to 6 centimeters. The researchers assert that they were cut on site and on demand to fit perfectly into the carved notches made within the sandstone blocks, with them concluding that they do not bear any traces of sawing, thus were once cut with hatchets and/or axes from pre-existing planks. Of the 46 specimens initially selected, only 22 could be dated. This analysis has conveniently allowed for the wall's possible true age to be dismissed, with the analysis making it possible to specify the date on which the tree from which each tenon came and when it was felled. In fact, it gives them a specific cutoff date to claim its construction. The conclusion of our two researchers is as follows. If they come from the same construction campaign, the tenons studied were developed for a construction site between the year 675 and the year 681. The reason I suspect this to be a cover-up of the wall's true age and why these blocks fitted at later dates. Firstly, the fact that this technique found all over the globe and indicative of a lost civilization's work. Also, the largest notches no longer have clamps. As mentioned, Most sites which incorporated this technique so old, the clamps have rotted away or more accurately rusted. Why would a group go to the trouble of cutting and placing millions of blocks forming a wall some 10 kilometers long and not use stone or metal clamps like found at so many other sites worldwide? Why are the biggest examples missing? Were they, when the site reclaimed within the pagan era, still exhibiting this rare metallurgy? Perhaps these clamps looted for this specific reason and simply replaced with wooden pegs out of concern of damaging the relic. The conclusion of the funded researchers give a convenient argument to anyone who knows their ages, as evidence that it created at a time when steel hatchets were present, yet still they opted for wood. With the tenons also coming from sessile oaks, a species abundant and easy to acquire all over the slopes of Mont Saint-Odile. In this ancient place lay an as mentioned ancient wall, mostly still buried beneath layers of sediment, which, although as mentioned is claimed as pagan, if one looks closely enough, is also revealed to actually be an extremely ancient, highly eroded and disturbed polygonal structure. One that used the same method of setting the blocks, the same clamping technology I have now proven and found in Peru, China, Japan, Egypt, Myanmar, and so on, with the wall also, as mentioned, of an astonishing 10 kilometers in length. I have indeed in the past covered other polygonal structures in France, the UK, and many other places across Europe. Thus, the civilization responsible, I have already confirmed, were indeed upon these lands, or at least in contact and sharing knowledge with the natives before the Great Flood. Note the possible origin and inspiration for the little appreciated feat of our more well-known, more recent ancestors, undertaken across ancient England somewhere around the time of the Domesday Book, when England's lands were being carved up in and around 1086. To separate the land they built what is now known of as Cotswold stone walls, with several sites covered in my other videos, displaying some of the oldest polygonal masonry I have personally been able to identify, all appearing uncannily similar in structure. These once perfectly placed blocks, due to root systems, severe erosion, and other disturbances over the eons, exposing varying stones to the elements to varying degrees, with the water slowly seeping into the seams, pulling them apart, eventually giving them, like the so-called pagan wall, the appearance of roughly shaped stones, somehow once perfectly placed upon one another. Could the highly eroded appearance of these ancient walls, along with their longevity, once the inspiration for the Cotswold stoning method? When I first started this journey, nearly no one was even aware of polygonal structures anywhere other than Peru, let alone Japan or elsewhere. I believe these sites deliberately ignored. Yet, as my work deepens and develops, we will all come to realize this lost legacy far greater than any of us could have possibly imagined. A lost world not just found buried in faraway places, but everywhere, even beneath your feet. It is a journey which I find highly compelling. Add details of the site's names and locations due to